and just like, it's not like an establishing wide shot. But I was trying to work out where the zoom was and everything, and I realised that. And because it was so hot, you didn't want to step too far forward to get like right in the sun, so I couldn't really see what's going on there. And I'm just trying to like, you know, so it was an experience. Yeah, I think it was like it was. Today should be okay. It was probably still feeling in the second half when the sun comes in. Probably nowhere near as bad as well. Yeah. Today, because it's 22, yeah, still a bit of yeah, well, I was talking with the president, he's one of my good friends' cousins. All right, testing 1 2 1 2, testing. Oscar coming loud and clear. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10.
And also testing. This one's for Nick now. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. I can go louder.
Yeah, go louder. Good.
Keep going louder. Like this loud. Is this the amount of loud?
Yeah.
For some reason, his level is here, and your normal level is here.
It's the mic or mine?
It's the mic.
Right.
So I can't change it.
So you're going to have to speak louder.
Or talk with the mic closer to
Yeah,
my
go
mouth.
go as
Go
close
right
as you
in.
can.
Hello, welcome.
Right, step back.
Yeah.
If I speak from more down here, maybe
Okay,
better.
that'll make it easier for me. Yeah.
So speak. Yeah, testing 1 2 1 2 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. 1 2.
This will be fun to listen back to.
I think we. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll try to get mine closer to my
Yeah.
mouth.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Which one did you go to? Where? Heroes. We're on Third Street. Like, is it? Oh, it's for that end. Is it like private booths or is it the? Like, cut off? to Penny's Reserve for this NPL Men's Victoria Round 4 clash between Manningham United and South Melbourne. A first ever meeting between the two sides in Victoria's top flight, with one of the newest sides in the top flight in Manningham United playing their second home game of the season and looking to continue their perfect home record, having come away with a win against Dandenong Thunder the last time they were here. Their opponents will be no easy beats. South Melbourne, 3 wins from 3, all by the score of 1-0. Yet to concede a goal, looking to continue their brilliant start to the season against a side that are certainly going to be no easy beat today. My name is Nick Devino and I'm joined here today by Oscar Rushford on commentary. Oscar, it's a big day in Manningham's history, welcoming South Melbourne to town. It's packed here at Penny's Reserve, but it should be a fascinating afternoon of action here in Melbourne's East.
Well, it's the kind of day that promotion's all about. This is why it's such a big deal for clubs the size of Manningham to get to welcome Goliaths of Victorian football like South Melbourne to Penny's Reserve. As you mentioned, it's a packed house. The car park was chockers before the game. And really looking forward to a fantastic afternoon of football, Nick.
Well, good luck if you're getting here late and you've got us on and you're listening to us on Bluetooth in the car, because you have to park a few streets away. It is absolutely jam-packed here at Penny's Reserve, but it should be a great afternoon of action as Manningham welcome one of the biggest clubs in Victorian football to town. You said to someone a few years ago that Manningham would be hosting South Melbourne in a top flight game. They would have told you you're crazy, but we're here now. Manningham, after their incredible run to promotion last season, now have a chance to welcome Hellas to town. So let's go through the starting lineups. 4 changes for Manningham today, including a goalkeeper swap. George Zamoranis relegated to the bench and replaced by Claudio Sicora. Owen Dufton, Jose Ramirez and James Tuntis come into the team, with Robert Harding, Daniel Scopoletti and Ali Turgott coming out of the 11. They're joined by number 5 Alex Castiello, Dal Okol, Nick Volgaris, Junior Carter, Ioannis Georgopoulos, Christos Theodorakopoulos and Ben Everson. While for South Melbourne, 3 changes of their own and a goalkeeper change of their own. The goalkeeper of the year, Javier Lopez, out with injury, replaced by William Lejeune between the sticks. And coming into the starting lineup as well is Emil Payos and Marko Jankovic. Oscar, some interesting changes as we get underway here at Penny's Reserve. Manningham kicking from right to left in their traditional baby blue kits. South Melbourne in their away white strips. But it's not every day you see both teams making goalkeeper swaps. One forced, one an unforced change. What do you make of this, obviously, considering, especially from a South Melbourne point of view, how influential Javier Lopez has been over the journey?
Yeah, well, it's a pretty clear narrative coming into the game, isn't it, Nick, talking about the goalkeeper changes at both ends. For South Melbourne, it is such a huge loss. We know how vital Javier Lopez is to that South Melbourne backline. They're the only team still yet to concede a goal in the league this season. So you wonder if perhaps from a Manningham perspective, they'll see an opportunity to finally, take advantage of a chink in the South Melbourne armour.
They're breaking forward here through Everson, looking to play it through, and it's cleared away and out for a throw-in. Of course, Manningham, conversely, Oscar, winning 2 losses to start the season. Both their losses coming on the road to Oakley and Green Gully, 3-0 and 4-1, but a 2-1 win here against Dandenong Thunder, coming from behind to claim all 3 points. As you mentioned, South Melbourne off a very short turnaround. Played Monday night against Hume City, a 1-0 win thanks to a late goal from Noel Bernarda. Backing up wins against Melbourne Knights and Moreland City to start the season as well. We'll see what Manningham can do from this throw-in, as Owen Dufton looking to play up the line. Ricochets off Ramirez, and South looking to break back the other way. Jordan Lampard. Some space and a strong challenge on that far side from James Tuntis, one of the changes. And a foul is called by referee Daniel Ilievski. Pressing there from Tuntis. Keeps it alive, and Marko Jankovic is called for a handball. And a set piece in a very dangerous area here for Manningham.
Yeah, really positive start for the home team. I think you can see them really pumped up for this game. They've brought it right to South Melbourne. It's a pretty simplistic analysis to provide to Manningham this season so far, Nick, but the problem's quite simple. They're conceding too much, and their scoring isn't quite keeping up with the amount they're letting in. So perhaps it will be a bit of a different challenge today against the South Melbourne team, who, as you mentioned, have just scored the 1 goal in each game. But an early set-piece chance for Manningham. See some of the big bodies in the box, the likes of Dala Cole. He does make the run towards the near post. Marko Jankovic heads the ball clear. aerial ping pong and a collision in the box. The shot comes in. Willem Lejeune happy to see it fly over his crossbar early.
Nice little statement of intent from Manningham here. Oscar, they're not taking a backward step, looking to try and put South on the back foot early.
It's obviously not easy, though, to get the better of South in set-piece situations. You just see the height and strength they've got. Opportunity here, perhaps getting in behind late. It's Nahuel Bernardo. There was contact outside the box. And the free kick has been awarded. You hear the shouts for a card for the Manningham goalkeeper. Claudio Sikora brought into the team, and he will just receive a yellow card. So a heart and mouth moment for Manningham early, and South showing the threat they've got on the break. Nahuel Bernardo sneaking in behind. But the challenge perhaps just far enough away from the goal. It's what saves the Manningham goalkeeper's blushes.
Very nervous moment there for Claudio Sikora and the Manningham defence in his first little bit of action since coming across to Manningham in the off-season. And Nahuel Bernardo, great speed to get in behind, but he's still on the ground here, and you can see the South Melbourne physios come out to check on the well-being of the Argentinian. Fingers crossed he's all good, but in another world, Oscar, another reality, the starting goalkeeper for Manningham today coming into the team could have been the man who's in the sticks today, between the sticks, for South Melbourne in William Lejeune, who was in fact signed by Manningham during the off-season before coming back to South Melbourne. So maybe in another life, William Lejeune is starting today for Manningham, and it's Jake Charleston between the sticks for South Melbourne, who of course is on the bench today replacing Javier Lopez.
And in many ways, it's Claudio Sikora who was brought in to replace Lejeune from the Manningham perspective. So narrative's going everywhere you look at the moment, Nick, but Sikora will have an early challenge of his own here, having given away that foul. A couple of set-piece specialists standing over this one. So, of course, Max Mikola and Harrison Sawyer. It's Sawyer who strikes. The shot is on target, but a comfortable save for the Manningham goalkeeper.
So the first warning shot fired by the visitors. As we mentioned, 3 tight wins to start the season. Probably the most impressive of the lot was their win against Hume City, who started the season so well with wins over Green Gully and Dandenong Thunder of their own, and they had to rescue a win late in that game, and of course against Moreland City the week before that, when Harrison Sawyer's late penalty was the difference. He scored 2 goals since returning to the club from Finland. Here's Marko Jankovic in some space. Back in the starting 11 this week. Sawyer, strong challenge from Castiello. Daniel Ilievski waves play on, and now Manningham looking to break. Tuntus dribbles forward, looking to play through Ben Everson, and it rolls past him, and South Melbourne are there to clear.
He looks dangerous early, doesn't he, Tuntus? Every time he gets on the ball, he's looking forward and trying to sneak attack the South Melbourne defence.
Will Payos putting the South Melbourne defence under a little bit of trouble, but you are right, Oscar. James Tuntus looking like he's coming out there with a bit of a statement to make in his first start of the season. Junior Carter plays it centrally. Everson, lovely touch there. Doracopoulos hits some space, hits it off the post, back to Ben Everson, and puts it home. Manningham are in the lead against South Melbourne. Who would have seen that coming? Theodoracopoulos left with an acre on the edge of the box. His shot ricochets into the path of Ben Everson, and he makes no mistake. His first goal in the top flight of Victorian football.
Well, he didn't get the goal, but Chris Theodoracopoulos deserves a whole lot of credit for his involvement in that goal. The shot, of course, rebounding off the post, but there aren't many players in the state that you'd rather than Ben Everson to be on the receiving end of that rebound. And as you mentioned, a well-deserved goal in the top flight for Ben Everson, such a prolific goal scorer for so many years in the various divisions of Victorian football. So a really wonderful sight to see him get his name on the score sheet. And for the sake of this game, I think that's made it a lot more exciting of a prospect to have Manningham in front. And it's South Melbourne who will have to rebound early on in this contest.
Who would have seen that one coming, Oscar? I mean, as the long ball comes forward here for Bernardo, and he's brought to ground by Sikora, but it's out for a goal kick in the end. No foul awarded. But, I mean, Manningham taking the lead against South Melbourne. This is the first time this season Manningham have actually gone ahead first, because against Dandy Thunder they had to come from behind. Their goal against Green Gully when they were down 3-0. This is a very interesting position for Manningham to be in. They've scored inside the opening 10 minutes, and now they're going to have to sit back against a team in South Melbourne who haven't been in this position since the grand final, Oscar. I mean, it's only a small sample size, but this is unfamiliar territory for both teams.
And now Bernardo looking for the quick reply for South down this left-hand side. His cross is blocked, and South will have a corner. Let's not forget as well the first goal that South have conceded this season, so certainly an unfamiliar position for Esteban Quintas' side in 2024. It looks as if Emil Payos is headed on over to deliver the corner from that far side. It's got plenty of height and bend, perhaps a little bit too much, and Bernardo unable to control the header. But what a start it is for Manningham United. And at home as well, you can really feel the energy in the ground that's come since that goal. Certainly be hoping to build on that.
This will be interesting, Oscar, because we've just seen how well South Melbourne have played this season when they've been able to get ahead early and sit back. But right now, like, it is amazing to see what Manningham are doing. They're just playing with no fear, and I mean, throwing sort of a bit of caution into the wind and not backing down. I mean, we know that they play a very progressive style of football, like to play on the front foot, and some teams against bigger teams might go into their shell a little bit, but Manningham just unfazed.
It's really enjoyable to watch how forward-thinking they are. Every time they've got the ball in the opposition half, they're just about looking to attack with it. This is Castiello using support of Georgopoulos, former Northcote man. Touch from Everson is a good one and spreads it to Theodorakopoulos, but number 10 going just a little bit early. The offside flag is raised. But still South Melbourne looking far from comfortable out of possession early in this game.
Fascinating just seeing how stretched South Melbourne seem in some of those moments. Like, you go back to that goal, Theodorakopoulos given an acre on the edge of the box and just no one closed him down. It was almost unheard of. Usually South are able to clog up those spaces so easily, but you know, almost, I don't want to say a level of disrespect for Theodorakopoulos to give him that much space, but usually, you know, you don't give a player of that quality that much, you know, room. And he's already scored 3 goals this season. Yes, 2 of them have come from deflections, but he's such a dangerous player as we've seen throughout the journey.
I mean, he'd be right up there with the most impressive players from the first month of NPL football this season, Nick.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we know what's coming now, Oscar.
And it's not the first time that we've seen it, but always interesting to see South implement their long throw technique with such a small amount of space between the sideline and the fence. Max Mikola having to work extra hard, get as much power from a much shorter run-up than he's used to. Still gets plenty of height, awkward to deal with, does hit the deck. Played back out to Barcia. Manningham get the numbers back and get the ball away, so another strong defence from the home team.
Yeah, really fascinating to see with the smaller touchlines, Oscar, because, you know, at Lakeside Stadium you can take as many steps back and you've got the vast expanses of playing in the middle and having an athletics track surrounding the pitch, but here, you know, you've got a fence just waiting, so he's going to have to, you know, generate a lot more power off a shorter run-up, but he still was able to put it in such a dangerous area, so fascinated to see how that one plays out throughout the game. As strong challenge there from Jose Ramirez to bump Evans off the ball. Looking to feed through Ben Everson. His pass sits up in the wind and Jake Marshall clears it away. Harry Sawyer and a Cole contest. Well played by Dower Cole, just unfazed by the challenge, and he's looking to get forward. Carter, lovely pass. Georgopoulos can turn, has space. Looking to get forward, rides the challenge, goes to ground. A free kick awarded to Manningham.
I do wonder how much of the Manningham game plan specifically for today is to basically try and catch the South defence by surprise. They've got so many big, strong bodies in that back line and really throughout the pitch. So perhaps if they can get in behind before South Melbourne can react, that's where they see themselves as being most likely to threaten the South Melbourne goal.
We'll see what they can do from this free kick, Oscar, because you've got Theodorakopoulos and Georgopoulos standing over it. It does look like it's going to be Theodorakopoulos who lofts it towards goal and almost catches Lejeune off his line. I mean, for all money, we thought that was being lofted in as sort of a set-piece routine, but he thought, you know what, why not? And in the end, that one just flying over the crossbar.
Just for a moment, you thought it was about to dip something, to do something really awkward for the South Melbourne goalkeeper, but they do get away with it, the visiting team.
He's been everywhere early, Theodorakopoulos. Oscar, you mentioned him being one of the most impressive players in the early going of this season. As Ramirez and Everson contest, and Ramirez comes up with it. He's brought to ground. Jose Ramirez, Oscar, since he's come in today, you know, just showing a lot of class in the middle of the park, a bit of frustration, being able to win those balls in the middle, and it's good to see him back in the starting 11 as well, of course. His first start of the season for the captain of Manningham. Of course, vice-captain Nick Volgaris was taking the armband from the first minute in the first 3 weeks, but Jose Ramirez, one of those 4 changes back in the team. Stuffton goes long, looking for Everson. It's headed away by Jankovic, headed back by Theodorakopoulos. Everson with the flick! And he's just put it over the bar. Ben Everson is feeling himself at the moment, Oscar.
Manningham are having fun out there right now, Nick. They've really brought it to South Melbourne. Ben Everson has got a renewed level of confidence, having got his name on the score sheet. And if that had gone in, we'd be singing his praises for the rest of the afternoon and then some.
Well, Oscar, I mean, we've seen some brilliant goals to start this season in the top flight, with Lloyd Isgrove's goal, of course, taking being the pick of the bunch with that bicycle kick effort. But Ben Everson's one, if he'd pulled that one off, it'd certainly be right up there.
Here is Everson once more, this time taking on the youngster Morgan Evans. Well, the skills are on full display for Ben Everson right at the moment. Showing the vigour and enthusiasm of a much younger version of himself, Ben Everson, showing that he's very much still got a lot to contribute at this level. South, though, looking to quickly go down the other end. Bernarda's pass is blocked. Now Akol and Sawyer do battle. South do enough to maintain possession. Across is sent in, and Ross Archibald getting high up the pitch from his usual deep position, but a strong take from Claudio Sikora. You have to say, Nick, that Manningham, having scored the early goal, it's hard to argue that they don't deserve it. They've come out absolutely firing in the afternoon, and South Melbourne look a little bit rattled, to be fair.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it looks like the best form of attack so far for South have been those long balls to Bernarda and trying to back in his speed against that Manningham defence, but they haven't been able to pick their way through so far, and I think Esteban Quintas would be quite frustrated with how this game's panned out in the early going, because, you know, the one thing that South pride themselves on is being such a sturdy defence, but at the moment Manningham are having fun every time it seems like they go forward, and just so much space afforded to their attackers, so certainly something to work on as this game progresses.
Nicola trying the long ball over the top, not quite on the same page as his fellow attackers. Manningham persist with this style of playing out from the back that they're very much known for. Everson and Theodorakopoulos attempting to combine. It's worked out in the end as they make progress down this right-hand side. Twintas has played through. Perhaps look to put in the cross. Takes on his opponent. Still going, James Twintas. It was a really nice run, just blocked at the last moment by South Melbourne. And now perhaps they can look as threatening as ever in these kinds of moments, South. Sawyer in support. Gets the shot away, but Castiello got his positioning just right. South looking to build a bit of pressure for really the first time in this match. Lampard's cross towards Sawyer, got a head on it, but unable to direct it on target. Alex Castiello has his hands full this afternoon, but he's done an admirable job up to this point.
Bit of words there with the assistant referee, not happy with some of the sort of wrestling inside the box. He went to ground in that previous play in a bit of a tussle there with Sawyer, but that's going to be a good matchup. You know, the veteran in the heart of Manningham's defence going up against one of, if not the best striker in the top tier. So, you know, going to be an interesting watch as this game progresses, but Yeah, I can see why Alex Castiello wasn't too happy about that and that sort of wrestle. Certainly didn't let... What's going on there? It's just a moment of...
Seems like went a little
bit too early, yeah.
Liking.
Thought for a second it was fair play because I thought they'd played out, but didn't realise that Bernardo had actually just infringed.
And that won't do a lot to settle the tension felt amongst South Melbourne right at the moment.
So instead, Manningham looked to just go long from that goal kick, but it's coming right back as Dufton, under pressure from Mikkola, did well, and now he's looking to break. Owen Dufton with a lot of space here to get forward, and not really putting any pressure on him until Emil Payos got back and did well. Well played there by Payos. Sweeping ball from Archibald. Vulgaris wins the header. All the way back to Marko Jankovic. Emil Payos, Oscar, an interesting story. I mean, we saw him a lot last season playing in VPL 1 for Melbourne City. He spent a short period of time at Melbourne Victory as well as part of their promotion-winning campaign. But, of course, with a strong challenge from Theodorakopoulos on this near side and a free kick awarded to South Melbourne. But it will be, he's an interesting one to watch. Certainly a prospect who we have seen what he can do when he's at his best. But a good pickup for South Melbourne nonetheless.
Yeah, I really enjoyed watching Emil Payos when I got to see him play last season for the Melbourne City Academy team. Always looking like one of the most regular contributors.
Archibald looks to cross and Dufton gets a block in there and the ball stays alive for a second, but in the end it rolls out for a corner.
Really one of those technical midfielders who you can see is really comfortable on the ball and sees things that a lot of players couldn't and executes them more often than not as well.
He's had to bide his time in the opening month of the season and wait for his first start in South Melbourne colours. But today his opportunity does arise and he is standing over this corner. All the tall timber forward here for the away side. Ball's floated in towards the back post. It's headed away by Dufton. Mikkola looking to meet it, but well played by Carter. And it looks like he controlled that one with his arm for a second, but Daniel Ilievski unmoved. Jankovic to Payos. Strong challenge from Georgopoulos and off the ball there, Junior Carter goes to ground. It's a bit of a boom crush opera out there at the moment as Mikkola brings it under control. Rides the challenge. 1-2 with Archibald. Bit too much on it and the ball rolls out for a goal kick.
Yeah, I think a little bit more shoulder than arm. I think it was above the sleeve of the shirt, which is why Daniel Ilievski was happy to let it play.
Good shout there, Oscar. South Melbourne fans in front of us certainly would disagree, but...
I'll have to whisper that one.
So we've just played over 20 minutes here. Manningham leading against South Melbourne. Don't adjust your YouTube streams. You are seeing things correctly. Ben Everson with the opening goal as Payos looking to feed it through. We flick forward. Tuntus rides the challenge from Barcia. Still going. James Tuntus. Everson peels out wide. Looking to play it over the top for Tuntus. Set up a real task for him, but it's a good ball. Sits up well for him. Tuntus rides one challenge, has some space in the edge of the area, feeds it out there towards Georgopoulos, comes back to Vulgaris, and Manningham recycle possession through Carter. He's forced to retreat to Owen Dufton. South doing well to set up behind the ball, and Dufton's now going to have to go all the way back to Claudio Sikora. There's some pressure there from Sawyer. Patient in possession there, Manningham, as Dufton with a switching ball, putting Vulgaris under some pressure here from Barcia. Plays it back to Georgopoulos, and they work their way through well. Carter. Centrally to Everson. Here's Ramirez. The pressure there from Bernardo. Strong challenge, and Bernardo wins it back. Well played by Noel Bernardo, and here goes South through Payos. And his pass is just a bit overhit, and that rolls through to Claudio Sikora.
That last pass from Emil Payos, perhaps we should take some responsibility for it, Nick. We did just give him the big hype up in the previous passage of play, but we're halfway through, or almost halfway through this first half, and it's really flown by. Such has been the breathless nature of the game up to this point. Here's Ben Everson. He sees an opportunity from range, and it's found its way in. Unbelievable, Ben Everson. A floater from miles out, which has somehow snuck into the back of the net. Ben Everson, that is unbelievable.
Oh my goodness. Where did that come from? And that is just incredible. We saw Theodorakopoulos try a similar effort from a set piece, but Ben Everson, unfazed, saw Lejeune off his line, just lofted that perfectly over the goalkeeper. That is insane. I'm lost for words, Oscar.
It was like it happened in slow motion. You thought for sure it was going to go over the crossbar, and then it just slowed right down and somehow dipped under the crossbar. A real nightmare moment for Willem Lejeune in the South Melbourne goal. But Ben Everson has brought his very best to Petty's Reserve this afternoon. And what a time to do it against South Melbourne.
I mean, from our position, Oscar, it looked like for a second it had lofted over the goal, but that was just hit so perfectly, like just nestled in the back of the net. Good save there from Sikora as Sawyer testing back the other way. Still lost for words, Oscar. I don't know what to make of that. That's incredible.
We might need to consult a physicist or something to understand how that went in the way that it did. Looked for all money like it was either going to go over the crossbar or be a comfortable claim for the goalkeeper. And somehow he just got that sweet spot right in the middle, threading the eye of the needle, really. And well, the long and the short of it, Nick, is that Manningham are 2-0 up within 25 minutes against South Melbourne.
I mean, the tipsters were certainly backing South going into this game, but Manningham have come out, they've torn up the script, Oscar, and they've said not on our watch. And I mean, if Manningham can make Petty's Reserve into somewhat of a fortress, they're going to be hard to beat this season. Of course, they've got the advantage of playing on a synthetic turf. It's something that no other team has as a home field advantage in the top flight. As South looking to break now through Payos. Bernarda getting in behind. Bernarda bearing down on goal. Castiello getting across. Plays it centrally for Sawyer, and a great challenge from Dufton. Back in from Bernarda, looking for Sawyer. Heads it towards goal. And it's saved by Sikora. Nervous moment there for the Manningham defence, but they can breathe for just a second. South can still cause all sorts of problems in transition, Oscar.
Well, as much as it hasn't been a good start to the game for South Melbourne, you can't put a lot of that blame down to Noel Bernarda. Even if not everything has come off, he's brought a lot of ambition to this game, and he's been the main route of attack pretty much every time for South Melbourne.
It's been a breathless start to this game. It's just been end-to-end. Manningham, every time they go forward, Oscar, it looks like they look confident every single time. It looks like they're going to score. It's quite remarkable to watch this play out.
Well, the challenge has been very much laid before South Melbourne. What do they have in response? One thing they do have going their way is they've got a long time to claw themselves back into the game. They want to start that comeback trail sooner rather than later if it is to happen at all. Garcia spreading the pass out to Lampard. And it's a nice pass play through to Emil Payos in a little bit of space. As the supporting run from Bernarda lifts the cross. And Nicola was the target, but doing just enough in the end was Owen Dufton. It will be a Manningham goal kick at the end of it all. Dufton, who I think has had a really good start to this game.
Yeah.
He's kept his opponent quiet, Max Mikola, and got forward when he's had the chance as well.
Well, it's been an interesting one because we've seen Nick Volgaris play at left back in each of the opening 3 games. And just having a look now, William Lejeune, Oscar on this opposite side, looks like he needs some treatment between the goals here. And if Lejeune is forced off, Oscar, South will be down to their 3rd string goalkeeper in Jake Charleston. This will be another blow for South considering Javi Lopez is already injured. But just on Owen Dufton, I mean, you mentioned he's been very impressive. We've seen Nick Volgaris, how he's played at left back. But he looks a lot more comfortable playing on the right-hand side today since, you know, they've made a bit of an alteration with Scott Belletti starting from the bench today. And I think it's paid dividends. I mean, he's been really good against Max Mikola today. He hasn't been fazed by the matchup. And you know what? So far, so good. You know, don't want to have a curse of the commentator moment here, but the opening half an hour or so that he's put together, I think, has been really impressive.
Well, as you can see, we are just having a little bit of a break in play as Willem Lejeune gets some treatment. And certainly for South's sake, you hope it's nothing too serious. You mentioned already down to their 2nd choice goalkeeper. Things could be looking like heading from bad to worse for South Melbourne if Lejeune is unable to continue.
Oh, he's lying on his back there. We hope he's all good. It is quite a mild day here, and it's a lot warmer out there on the synthetic pitch, as we know, Oscar. It's might be 22 or so out here in the stands, but it would feel a lot warmer out there. So we hope that William Lejeune is all good and he's able to continue as continues to work there with the physio. I wonder, did he cop a bit of a knock or something maybe in an earlier play?
I didn't see anything.
Yeah.
It certainly could have happened with some of the set-piece chances that we've had already in the game. Seems to be something with the shoulder area for the goalkeeper.
We're just keeping an eye on the bench there. Jake Charleston is standing. He's the only one sort of standing on that South Melbourne bench at the moment, so you do get a sense that maybe a senior men's debut for Jake Charleston could be in the offing at some point, but it looks like William Lejeune's going to continue, which is good news for South Melbourne. Esteban Quintas up on his bench, looking to try and will his team on as they look to try and come from 2 goals down. It's been a very rare position for South Melbourne to be in throughout the last few years, Oscar, so we'll see what they can do as Evans and Lejeune, a bit of a mix-up. Evans does well just to mop up at the last minute. Carter intercepts Ramirez, plays it centrally. Georgopoulos looking to feed it through, and getting back was Archibald. Fed up the line for Payos. Does well there, Emil Payos to right a few challenges. Great feet there from the youngster as Sawyer goes to ground, but advantage is played and Payos has some space. Dalwa Cole getting across, and a great challenge from a Cole. He won the ball, he caught Payos a second late afterwards, but Daniel Ilievsky's going to award the throw-in. Looked like for a second he might have changed his mind, but in the end it's going to still work out for a throw-in, which, as we know for South, it's almost as good as a set piece in this area, as Max Mikula goes across to take the throw. Nick Volgaris
defending from that goal, just by the way, Nick.
Oh, sensational. Absolutely sensational. It's like Nick Volgaris is almost manning the mark, Oscar, as Mikula launches it into the area. Sikora gets a fist to it. Goes straight up in the air. It's headed back on its way. Barcia back into the box. Headed back towards goal from Sawyer. Falls out towards Marshall. Collects Dufton, and the ball goes out for a corner here for South Melbourne.
I mean, credit to South, they have had a decent response to going 2-0 down. You see the urgency has really picked up in the last 5 or so minutes.
Mikula plays it short. Payos floats it in. It's a great ball into the area. Dufton got a head to it. Barcia tries a first-time effort and Dufton again. He's just everywhere at the moment. Challenge in the middle of the park there between Jankovic and Ramirez. And here we go. Daniel Ilievsky getting in the middle of it. Jankovic not happy at all. And he's going to get a talking to from Daniel Ilievsky.
Not the first time this afternoon that we've seen a little bit of the frustration boil over from South Melbourne. Not at all how any of them would have envisaged this game going in the first half hour. Well, I'm not sure I'd be wanting to upset Marko Jankovic anytime soon. The referee Daniel Ilievsky doing a good job to calm things down. So we see a long ball sent up once more towards Ben Everson. Carter follows up and Everson gets a little skim on his head. But that one's a more comfortable game for Willem Lejeune as South Melbourne once more look to springboard from one end to the other. This is Bernarda. This cross too close to the goalkeeper though. Been a busy first start of the season for Claudio Sikora. But up to now, he's dealt well enough with everything that's been thrown his way. It's particularly impressive considering that nervy first involvement. Nicola clipped, so South Melbourne awarded the free kick. And they opt for the crossfield ball towards Evans. Just isn't able to keep it in play. That's another good result for Manningham. Oh, and Dufton once again heading across to take the throw. The physicality of the game isn't letting up anytime soon. you get the feeling that a player like Ben Everson's really relishing this kind of environment, this kind of game where there's so much contact and trying to wrestle past your opponent. We see it once again between Castiello and Bernarda.
Daniel Ilievski letting a lot go at the moment, Oscar. He's letting play run, even though there's been a bit of physicality. Saw Noel Bernarda protesting that decision there.
And well, up to this point, he's kept the game in check, so I think the referee deserves a bit of credit. Manningham on that occasion not happy with the non-award of the free kick. Sawyer the target of the throw, Archibald and Barcia. Back to Jankovic. And the ball sent in where Bernarda is in a more central position. Finds Payos in space. Emil Payos. The strike was always off target. Nonetheless, a more positive sign for South Melbourne. Just about as clear-cut an opportunity as they've had, certainly from open play in the game.
It's much better there from South Melbourne. You know, great bit of work to get the ball out to that right flank and create some space for Emil Payos, who I think in these last 10 minutes, Oscar, has been absolutely dynamite in the middle of the park, starting to get forward and join in with that front three and provide a little bit extra. He's been very, very good.
Well, it's not too often that you see a player brought into the team being so influential and so central to just about everything that South are doing with the ball. This is Sawyer. Skips past one before getting the cross in, and Akol contorts his body to send the ball behind for a corner. That centre-back pairing of Alex Castiello and Dal Akol, I think, doing a really commendable job to start off this game. They've been very busy. South Melbourne have made it so. But they've had an answer for everything they've been asked up to this point. Payos once more contemplates the short corner. Will instead go direct. Again, it's got plenty of bend. But a similar result to last time, just a little bit too much depth on it. And the pass from Bernarda is misplaced, and now Theodorakopoulos charges forward for Manningham. Looks out towards Everson. He's gone offside, and that's really disappointing from a Manningham perspective. All the time with the world and space for Ben Everson. Just didn't quite time his run in behind right.
It was a weird one. It's almost like, you know, South were just happy to sit off in that moment once they realised that Theodorakopoulos was breaking and they had Everson played off already, and it was almost just that second too late to be able to get the Englishman back on side. But again, when Manningham are able to break, and they're able to break in numbers, they look so, so dangerous. Morgan Evans going to play it centrally towards Bernarda. Will find Sawyer. Some space, waits a second, looks for Bernarda. It took a deflection, but it finds its way now to Payos. Plays it in towards the middle. Coming from deep in midfield was Archibald. Dufton under some pressure. Archibald comes up with possession, plays it in towards Sawyer. Another strong challenge from Dufton. Ricochets back to Sawyer! South Melbourne back in the game. Who else but Harrison Sawyer? Game on again here at Petty's Reserve.
Well, absolutely right, Nick. Who else but Harrison Sawyer? If you give him too many sniffs, eventually he'll take his chance. And that was an excellent finish from an awkward position. But something that a striker like Harrison Sawyer, we've seen him do it time and time again. And that a really vital moment for South Melbourne as they drag themselves right back into the contest. Not too long before half-time either. Well and truly game on.
Well, we've still got 8 minutes plus, probably a bit of added time as well before half-time, as it looks like there's a South Melbourne player on the turf here. I think it's Marko Jankovic. Looks like he's good to continue, but nonetheless, Oscar, you know, suddenly Manningham's comfortable advantage, leading 2-0. The goals coming from Ben Everson has suddenly been halved just like that, and we know what South Melbourne can do if they can find a bit of a head of steam. This game is well and truly alive yet again.
And if you're Manningham, Nick, in this position, We'll just pause as we see it looks as if Jankovic being asked to start this phase of play off the field so that he can be invited back on by referee Daniel Ilievski. He does so promptly. But from Manningham in this position, you wonder if the ambition would now be to just hold on to their lead until the break, or do you keep going for it and risk having your 2-0 advantage wiped away?
Well, just hold that thought for just a second, because South Melbourne are coming forward and looking for an equaliser through Emil Payos. Playing it back to Archibald. Ball's whipped in. A Cole and Sawyer meet in the middle. Came off Sawyer's head, and it goes through to Claudio Sikora. At the moment, though, Oscar, I mean, if you're Manningham right now, you'd be wanting to try and restore that advantage, because suddenly, you know, that 2-0 lead, which may have been a touch comfortable, we know 2-0 is a dangerous lead. Suddenly,
waiting for one of them to go to the cliche.
The cliche had to come eventually as South Melbourne breaking again. Dower Cole gets across and puts the ball out for a throw-in. But I think right now, if you're South Melbourne, you go in with this momentum. Even if it's 2-1, you'd feel ultra confident coming out of the break that you can still get something, even a win, still out of this game. There is so much time left in this one. But you'd still feel confident if you're Manningham, though, Oscar. You'd feel very confident knowing they've already put 2 in the back of the net. There's no reason why they can't get more.
Looking to get themselves back level right now with another Mikola long throw. That one finds its way all the way through to Noel Bernarda. It hasn't taken long. South Melbourne get their second for the afternoon, and they're back level. Yet again, the Max Mikola long throw bears fruit, and Noel Bernarda gets his name on the score sheet for a second consecutive week, almost a mirror image of the goal against Hume on Monday night. Just like that, we're back level, Nick.
Yeah, in a matter of moments, it's gone from this comfortable advantage for Manningham to now we're all square again. And you spoke about the mirror image there of that goal against Hume City. It was exactly that, but with a little bit of a cleaner finish there from Noel Bernarda. I'm sure that one's going to go on the show reel. That was hit perfectly there on the half volley. And now, I mean, we've got a few minutes plus all that added time for the Lejeune stoppage. South Melbourne could potentially take the lead going into the break. I mean, this game has just taken a massive 180 in a few minutes.
The end-to-end action has not stopped really for a moment. And once again, Manningham now know that they've got work to do. If they want all 3 points, they want to get themselves back in that winning position. Tuntus puts the cross in, but nobody home. Really feel like ever since Manningham went 2-0 up, Nick, they haven't quite been playing the same way. They did, of course, come out with a lot of intensity, and it's difficult to sustain that across a full 90 minutes or even a 45-minute spell. They just lost a bit of that aggression and that forward-thinking play that they started out with, and that's invited the pressure that South Melbourne have applied, and this is really the result.
No, absolutely right, Oscar. It just feels like they've taken a little bit of a backward step, maybe gone to their shell too early. I know you're up 2-0 and maybe just it's a bit of a mindset thing. Maybe in those moments you start to feel a little bit more conservative. You're up, start to play in preservation mode a little bit. But at the moment, though, it's been such a good response from South Melbourne, who, to their credit, Oscar, I mean, we haven't seen them in this position often where they're behind and been able to come back into games. But this has been very, very impressive.
This is Mikola. Wins his side of corner once more.
Another interesting thing to look at is it seems like Mikola and Bernarda have swapped flanks as well, and that sort of bore fruit in the early part of this or latter part of this first half.
It will be Mikola to deliver the corner this time round. And the left-footed out swinger finds the head of Sawyer. Goalkeeper forced to palm it over his crossbar. Melbourne looking more and more dangerous as the set pieces continue to accumulate. See a similar delivery you'd imagine from the number 22. This time, Sikora comes flying out and double fists it clear. And now we'll get the long throw routine, Nick. Puts it in, Sawyer with the flick on. South Melbourne to a tee. Max Mikola long throw. Harrison Sawyer header, and South Melbourne have turned this game on its head from 2-0 down to 3-2 up in the space of 45 minutes. It's quite simply typical South Melbourne football.
Well, 7 minutes ago, this scoreline, this game felt so different. Manningham leading 2-0. 7 minutes later, we're going into half-time with South Melbourne in the lead. What a turnaround, and what a beautiful header there from Harrison Sawyer. I mean, it's not, there'll be people who complain about the way that South do it with their set pieces, but they are so dynamic. At the end of the day, it gets results, and it's showing right there. That's 4 goals now in 4 games to start the season for Harry Sawyer. But Manningham, they've got to find a way back as they look to get forward through Vulgaris, leading 2-0 in such a comfortable position. I think for most people here inside Petty's Reserve probably thought it would be Manningham with the lead going into the break, but since then it has been a South Melbourne avalanche. Castiello looking to force the issue and get Manningham forward. It's going on a bit of a run here, the centre-back. Well corralled there by Ross Archibald. He's going to have to retreat, looking to feed it through, goes to ground, it's turned over. Barcia looking to play it over the top, but that will go all the way through to Claudio Sikora. But it really has been some turnaround to this game. I mean, just the way they've been able to turn it around. And we asked the question, how would South Melbourne be, being the team that has to chase the lead? But this has just been some response. And, of course, 2 of those goals coming via a very, very trusty outlet in the Max Nicola long throws. As Theodorakopoulos looking to feed it through. He might get his own ball here, but a good challenge there from Emil Payos, who has helped kick-start this turnaround. Archibald, raking ball looking for Mikola, and Vulgaris gets ahead to it, and that goes all the way through to Claudio Sikora. But it's just been incredible to see what South have been able to do.
You mentioned the discussions about, stylistic preference and how South Melbourne do it, but it is up to the other teams in this competition to find a way
to beat it,
to mitigate the threat, and we've seen yet again how difficult that is to do.
Tuntus gives away the free kick, and Harry Sawyer has been the man who has hit the scoreboard twice to help turn this game around. He's been so important in the Quintas system in the 2 seasons, or the second season now, or second full season he's more than likely to spend at South Melbourne, as Mikola's cross eludes everyone, and the ball will roll into touch and out for a throw-in. But I mean, you do mention it, Oscar. Teams have to find a way to beat it. When you've got someone like Harry Sawyer, who is such a presence at set pieces, whether it's from the long throw, from corners, or from free kicks, he's so hard to beat in the air. You can be one of the best defenders in this league, but he's just such a hard player to beat in all sorts of scenarios, and he's deceivingly quick as well. As Barcia, Mikola comes out to Lampard, and it's blocked by a Cole, and the ball's out for a corner.
6 goals this season now for South Melbourne. I think 4 of them have come from the long throw situations.
And 4 of them from Harry Sawyer. I mean, 3 of them, him being on the end of those long throws. Of course, 1 of those, or 2 of those, I think, from the long throw situation. Maybe get that one wrong. We'll fact check that one at half time. But, of course, scored a penalty against Moreland City as well. I do think his first goal today came from a cross instead of a long throw, but the second, and of course his goal against Knights, coming from a long throw as Mikola floats in. That's a great ball in there, and it's clawed off the line by Sikora among a body of players as Payos' volley takes deflection, and the ball goes out for a corner. I think it was Marshall that got ahead to it among the sea of bodies, and Claudio Sikora did well to claw that one off the goal line.
Manningham, they started this game so well defending these set-piece situations, but just the pressure that South Melbourne build, it's become more and more difficult. And you see, it looks like they're going to score every time they go in. Mikola
floats it in. Sikora double fist that time, and that's going to go out now for a long throw. And Ross Archibald thinking about it. But I think he's just going to leave it for none other than Mikola, who's slowly making his way over, and following him across is Nick Vulgaris, who will once again stand on the mark.
Do you think Mikola practices the sprints across the breadth of the field? How often he's going from one end to the other?
Potentially. That one was more of a jog as we get close towards half-time, as Mikola's long throw floats in. It comes down all the way through to, I think that was Marshall, and he shot towards goal. It was Jake Marshall in the end, and it goes out for another corner. And another set piece now for Manningham to defend. Only a matter of seconds remaining inside this first half. Mikola floats it in, that time towards the back post. It's headed back across the face. Castiello's there to clear, comes out to Barcia. Chips his effort in the end, and it's just wide of the mark. Good effort there from the Argentinian, but it's out for a goal kick.
We don't have access to these stats, but you'd imagine that the XG for South Melbourne in this half would be through the roof with the number of shots they've had from central positions in the box. And for Manningham, after such a positive start, so much praise given to begin this game. They were 2-0 up, but South Melbourne have come roaring back in the final 20 or so minutes of this first half. 3-2 the score at the break. The visiting South Melbourne performing a full 180 to head into the halftime break at Petty's Reserve in the lead, Nick Devano.
Yes, a very, very entertaining first half here at Petty's Reserve. The Ben Everson show early scored off a deflected shot. Well, Theodore Koppel's effort ricocheted off the post into the path of Everson. He scored a beautiful second as well, lofting that ball over the top of William Lejeune, and it gave Manningham that 2-0 lead. But in the space of 7 minutes, it went from 2-0 up to 3-2 down. Goals from Harry Sawyer either side of a Noel Bernarda volley. But Oscar, that will take us through to half-time. Plenty more action coming on the other side of this. You won't want to go anywhere, because at the moment, if that first half was anything to go by, the second half is going to be an absolute cracker. Manningham behind at the break, 3-2.
I'm not going to come back. I'm going to go 50.
Or do you want to meet us over there?
I might get the drink.
Yeah. How long is it going to take? If it's too hard, man, wait, come with us and on the way back. Yeah.
I'll go now.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Petty's Reserve for this NPL Men's Victoria Round 4 clash between Manningham United and South Melbourne. The score as we get ready to start the second half, South Melbourne leading 3-2 in a topsy-turvy 45 minutes that saw South Melbourne come from 2 goals down to take the lead before the break with 3 goals in the space of 7 minutes. Ben Everson had a double for Manningham, but out of nowhere, a double from Harry Sawyer and a goal from Nahuel Bernarda saw Hellas take the lead heading into the break, and what looked to be potentially an upset here at Petty's Reserve. Suddenly, the narrative has changed, but there is still time for Manningham to turn this one around as we're underway here for the second half. Nick Dabano and Oscar Rutherford back here. Thank you for your company here on the NPL Victoria YouTube channel. Oscar, a topsy-turvy roller coaster first half. I mean, you can throw all sorts of adjectives and descriptive words to describe it, but an incredible opening 45 and a second half that promises so much here at Petty's Reserve.
It was pretty unbelievable. I mean, I think a lot of us were expecting this game to perhaps be a bit more one-sided, a bit flatter of a contest, but it's delivered in spades. The way that Manningham came firing out of the blocks in the first half. We'll pause that thought as Nahuel Bernarda gets away an early shot. But yeah, Manningham came out absolutely flying, and South Melbourne wrestled back control, clawed their way back in. Those set pieces, the accumulation of them eventually proving decisive, really. And you wonder if Manningham have what it takes to go again, to rebound once more against this team that is so notoriously difficult to beat when you're behind.
Well, the last 10-15 minutes or so, it was all South Melbourne, and we're picking up right where we left off because South Melbourne are on the attack again via a Max Mikla long throw. Ball's launched into the area, finds its way through out to the back post. Marshall on goal, and it just awkwardly bounces through a sea of bodies, and Claudio Sikora is there to pick it up in the end. But so far, South Melbourne with 2 attempts on goal. Of course, Nick Volgaris blocking that initial chance from the player prior to the Max Mikla long throw as Emil Payos wins the free kick. Oscar, Emil Payos really was everywhere in turning that first half back in South Melbourne's favour. How have you seen his performance in that first half?
Yeah, I thought he started off a little bit shaky, a few misplaced passes, but he really grew into the game, and South Melbourne have been using him consistently when they've got the ball, building up, really trusting his technical abilities, and he's delivering at a high level on a consistent basis.
Oh, an awkward one here, falls out to Archibald, and we'll go out now for a corner as Harry Sawyer's down, holding his head. It seems like every time, Oscar, there's a set piece, there's nerves in that Manningham defence at the moment. Sikora did come out and collect that ball. Sawyer did go to ground, but he's all good to continue, waving away the physio. And it'll be another set piece here for South Melbourne or Manningham to defend. They've been just as damaging from corners as they have from long throws as Mikla's ball's floated in towards the box. It's knocked clear there by Sikora. Poor touch from Payos. Manningham looking to break, but that pass only goes through to Mikla. Rides the first challenge. Yankovic brought to ground. It'll be another free kick here for South Melbourne, and at the moment, Oscar, they're just having it their own way. It's at the moment they're winning free kicks, they're slowing the play down, and not letting Manningham break out in speed, which is where they had their most joy in the first half.
Well, if the rest of this half goes the way that it started, it's going to be a long and arduous experience for Manningham. So difficult with so many repeat balls into the box.
Yankovic, cross it back in, it's not at home! South Melbourne doubled their lead, and Harry Sawyer has a hat-trick. Easy as you like. Repeated entries. Pay off there for South Melbourne to start this second half. And from 2-0 down, they're now 4-2 ahead. And Harry Sawyer is making his mark here at Petty's Reserve.
And a nice celebration to go with it. Yeah, that's really the vital goal for South Melbourne. 4-2 up, they've got that 2-goal buffer now. They'll start to feel, I think, a little bit more comfortable from this point forward. And for Manningham, it was already a mammoth task that was before them. Now just got that much more difficult. 4-2 the score. It's not a game that's been short of entertainment, Nick. But unless something dramatic changes in the next 30 minutes or so, it's looking as if South Melbourne might well be able to roll over the top of Manningham. So yet again, the attempts to play out aren't particularly successful. This is Sawyer, puts the ball inside. Mikola with the header. Draws a strong save.
What?
South Melbourne, they've really come out firing in the second half.
Well, at the moment, Oscar, South Melbourne are just playing with so much confidence. All the confidence it seemed like Manningham had in that first half just gone completely out the door. They seem a little bit spooked at the moment every time South Melbourne go forward. They're in 6s and 7s, and at the moment, that front three of Bernardo, Sawyer and Mikola having their own way and having that extra bit of help coming from deep from Emil Payos. They are just all over him at the moment. Really is a welcome to the top tier moment for Manningham coming up against just what is a tidal wave of pressure.
Mikola delivers the corner once more. Falls out to Barcia, who struck first time, and Manningham enough bodies back to get the ball clear. Claudio Sikora involved once more. It's an interesting case where the goalkeeper for Manningham, I think you could say, has had a pretty good game, but he's conceded 4 goals. Such has been the relentless pressure that the Manningham goal has been under. From about the 25-minute onwards, it's been going for a long while if you're a Manningham persuaded individual.
It seems like ever since that sort of stoppage when William Lejeune got a bit of treatment for what looked like a shoulder injury and the sting was taken out of the game a little bit by South Melbourne, it's really been just one-way traffic. They were able to slow down the momentum, and since then, it's really been one way. It almost, I don't want to use a tennis parlance in this one, Oscar, but it sort of feels like when you see a Novak Djokovic match when he's 2 sets down and he takes a medical timeout, and then everything just turns around from there.
This is Sawyer, pulls it back where Bernardo strikes, following up his Lampard. It's 5 for South Melbourne. They are a runaway train right at the moment, and Manningham can do nothing to stop what South Melbourne are throwing at them. 2 goals to start the second half, and South Melbourne at this point are flexing their muscles at Petty's Reserve.
This is a real statement of intent here from South Melbourne, Oscar. I mean, the 3-1-0 wins to start the season. A few people talking about, the manner in how they're winning. They're grinding out results, but they are wins. But this is very, very impressive. Down 2-0 on the road. I mean, I know Manningham are a newly promoted team, but playing out here on a synthetic pitch, it's a different kind of environment, playing against the tide, having their starting goalkeeper out. They have responded brilliantly, and 5 goals ever since the 36th minute. This has been an avalanche. An absolute avalanche from South Melbourne. And right now, this looks like it's going to get worse unless Manningham are able to turn the tide somehow. And they're under pressure again here, Oscar, because South are looking to break through Sawyer. Archibald feeding it over the top, looking for Payos. Under pressure from Owen Dufton, who's there to clear. And a real lesson here for Manningham. We were talking about earlier about how they would go being the team that is leading and having to hang on to the advantage for such a long period, but they've been really under the cosh ever since then. Dower Cole just ushers that ball out for a goal kick, but a real learning moment here for George Karkaletis' side. They were in the lead. And they're looking to play through the South Melbourne press here. Carter under pressure from Harry Sawyer is just about everywhere at the moment. And he gives away the free kick. I mean, Oscar, if you are Manningham, what do you do from here? Because it just feels like they haven't been able to even get the ball really out of their own half at the moment. It's just been locked in South Melbourne's attacking end.
I think you're precisely right, Nick. These kinds of moments where, for the first 20 minutes, Manningham were playing really effectively through South Melbourne. They were getting it from end to end in no time at all. And that just hasn't been the case for the last 40 minutes or so of play. That could change right here through Ben Everson.
Everson, of course, on a hat-trick.
But that was just about the best passage of play that we've seen from the back half from Manningham.
For a long time.
For a long time.
Yeah, probably since the moments after Everson's second, when Manningham were playing some very nice football. And they will win a corner here. It's South Melbourne getting ready to make a double substitution, probably after this corner. Of course, South Melbourne coming off a 5-day turnaround, playing Monday night. Manningham having an 8-day turnaround, having played last Friday against Green Gully. What can they do here from this corner? Ball played short. Carter plays it back. And a curling effort in the end there from Theodorakopoulos was always going over. And it's out for a goal kick as we get ready here for that double substitution here for the visitors. Just getting confirmation of who's going to be coming on and off. It does look like it's going to be Ross Archibald, and I think as well Max Mikler coming off the field here for South Melbourne. Of course, playing on that short turnaround. Maybe some tired bodies after that win against Hume City the other night. Coming on to replace the duo. Just waiting for them to turn around. Looks like it is Andy Brennan and Joshua Wallen coming on, two experienced players in the top flight. Of course, Andy Brennan, one of the top NPL Victoria strikers for quite some time. It's become more of a pressing machine under Esteban Quintas. Hasn't had as many goals, but very important to the way they play, just constantly putting defenders under pressure. And Joshua Wallen, when he returned to South Melbourne after initially being let go at the end of last season, came back late in the window. A steadying presence in the middle of the park. Owen Dufton, one of the impressive performers for Manningham today in his first start of the season. Akol Volgaris has Tuntas in support. Going to play through Jankovic, but unfazed is Marko Jankovic as he goes long. Bernardo and Akol contest on this near side. A good battle here. Some protests here from the South Melbourne fans. And Daniel Ilievski. Let's play continue. Volgaris looking to play it up the line. And that one's just going to roll out for a goal kick. But the South Melbourne fans to our left there, Oscar, not very happy that Daniel Ilievski let play continue.
I think, Nick, the referee has been very consistent, though, with how enforcing he's been in terms of being strict with what he'll pull up and what he'll allow to keep playing. And really, consistency is that most important thing. Barcia now for South. Spreads the play to Lampard. Has a couple of supporting runs, plays it inside to Brennan. Andy Brennan with the shot. Couldn't quite make the right kind of contact. Scuffed the shot a little bit.
He would have loved that one, Andy Brennan. Oscar, he hasn't scored many goals in the last couple of years, and it would have been good for his confidence.
Bernardo very nearly winning the ball back high up the pitch. It's been a good few minutes for Manningham, but it looks like we might be reverting to the pattern that we've seen for the majority of the last 40-odd minutes. Although Harry Sawyer's shot leaves a lot to be desired in the end. Flying well over the crossbar and out for a goal kick. I do think, Dick, that the point you were making a little bit earlier about the difference in turnarounds, South Melbourne playing on the Monday night, just 5 days ago, probably does explain quite a bit of what we've seen today. South Melbourne looked like a team who were a bit cold coming into the game, not quite firing from the very start, perhaps due to that quicker turnaround, whereas Manningham had the chance to, prepare for this game in full and really come out firing.
Sorry, Oscar, I was just going to make a comment, about the playing out from the back. I like the intent to keep playing out from the back here from Manningham. I'm all for sticking to their guns, but they're just being harassed. They can't even get through this first line of pressure.
Ball slid through, looking for Payos, who goes to ground. And has been caught as just outside the box, I think, Nick.
Very lucky. I thought that was a penalty for a second. I thought maybe he was just inside, but I think that's a free kick in the end there. But again, it's those moments. And I like that Manningham are trying it. They're trying to play it. They're sticking to their guns. All for that. But it's just amazing to see how South Melbourne have been able to telegraph that in this second half and just not allow Manningham, that's been their main strength, is being able to play through that. They've just not been able to get through that first line. It's been very impressive.
Well, live by the sword, die by the sword.
Absolutely.
I don't think that Manningham would have gotten 2-0 up had they not been trying to play
Absolutely.
as effectively as they did. So it really is just the consequence of when it stops working as well as it did at the beginning of the game. You can see how difficult it becomes against South Melbourne. And now they've got themselves a really excellent position from which to take a free kick.
They're raffling off the options here, Ross. You've got the left foot of Lampard. You've got Barcia, who can hit them from range. And you've got Emil Payos as well on the right foot. I think Jordan Lampard's sizing this one up.
Payos leaves it for one of Lampard or Barcia. It's Lampard who hits it. He goes low. And it's a strong save. That one was one of those really awkward ones for a goalkeeper, going through the wall. And perhaps not seeing it till a bit late.
Turns it over again, and Brennan just fizzes his effort wide. Dufton just put under all sorts of pressure. He wanted the free kick, but again in those moments, South Melbourne just physically having their own way when they're able to pounce on that first line. And again, Manningham sticking to their guns. They look to play out from the back. And immediately, ball out for a throw-in. Theodorakopoulos helps it on its way. Yankovic, Sawyer threw a leg at it. Bernardo goes to ground. He wanted the free kick. Mandawa Cole have had a nice battle all day. Georgopoulos going to get play moving. Vulgaris, what can Manningham conjure up? What can they salvage from this game? Of course, South did score 3.5, Oscar, so not saying it's completely over, but it's going to be very difficult against a team that is so well drilled defensively.
Well, Nick, you've been one of the biggest Manningham believers going around NPL Victoria. Do even you see a way back into this one? 5-2 down against South.
Where there is a will, there's a way, but this is going to be very, very difficult. They're going to have to get their skates on very quickly.
Yeah, I thought I'd finally crack you, but you're still sticking to it.
No, I think it's going to take something Herculean, one of the great comebacks that we've ever seen in this competition, if they were to conjure something up and score 3 or even 4 if they wanted to go for the win, but it's going to take something. Lampard sends it long looking for Bernardo. That will go up for a throw. Two of the new players, Jordan Lampard and Noel Bernardo, coming across from Green Gully. Really liking Jordan Lampard's game since he's come across. He's big shoes to fill with Bradley Norton moving on. Top tier retirement, now playing for Essendon Royals in VPL 2. But Jordan Lampard getting off the mark with that goal to score South's 5th of the game. How have you seen Lampard, not only today, but I guess in these opening few weeks of the season?
Yeah, no doubt he's been one of the better fullbacks in the competition for the last few years, Jordan Lampard. Joining South Melbourne, of course, I think he's really thriving in this system where he can use his left boot. It does look like Manningham will be heading to their bench for the first time this afternoon.
Does look some sort of double change. I think it's going to be Nick Vulgaris who's coming off and Owen Dufton heading out to right back. And I think as well it's going to be... Does it look like it's James Tuntis? No. It's also going to be Ioannis Georgopoulos coming from the field. In confirmation of exactly who's come on for Manningham. That is Abdul Abdallah, who is one of the players coming on here for Manningham. It looks like it's Alex Castiello coming off as well. They're making a really shifting the magnets around. I think it might be a triple change.
May have ended up with 3. Well, as you say, Nick, we'll get confirmation on who's come onto the pitch for Manningham. South once again looking to get in behind. Akol standing up on that occasion. Carter uses Ramirez. Back to Carter. And that's a nice turn from Everson. Still Ben Everson making the run forward. Looked to use the substitute Abdallah, but not quite on the same page as his teammate. And now Andy Brennan has a bit of space to run into. Still Andy Brennan. Plays the cross in. Couldn't quite get all the way to Harry Sawyer.
It's Daniel Scopoletti who's come on as well there, Oscar. And it looks like Alex Castiello was just off for the time being. I think he actually wasn't subbed off. He was just requiring some treatment. So that's the double change. Abdallah and Daniel Scopoletti on. Nick Vulgaris and Ioannis Georgopoulos coming off.
Oh, a fairly firm challenge applied just there from, it was James Tuntis. South Melbourne will get another opportunity from a dead ball situation. Do feel perhaps as if the intensity in this game has just dipped a level, with South holding a 3-goal advantage at this point. But they don't look particularly content to settle for just the 5, at least not just yet, South Melbourne. Cross sent in. Sawyer got his head on it. Follow-up almost coming off, but Tuntis will take it down the other end for Manningham. Everson, oh, that's a splendid touch. Just couldn't quite get there ahead of Morgan Evans, who inadvertently finds Andy Brennan. It's a wonderful cross sent in with the outside of the boot. Fortunately for Manningham, enough bodies are back to close down the space.
Even their inverted clearances are paying off at the moment for South Melbourne. That was almost the perfect sort of ball that found its way through to Brennan.
Chance still alive for South. Cross sent in, header from Sawyer. Looking for his 4th of the afternoon. That one a little bit too quick for him.
He wants more, Oscar. He's hungry. He's got a hat-trick. I mean, now 5 goals this season. He's looking to try and get a little bit of a buffer on top of the Golden Boot charts.
Well, when you consider one of his main early rivals, Chris Theodorakopoulos, is also on the pitch, he's certainly looking to send a message to his rivals in the Golden Boot race, you'd say, Harry Sawyer. But looking to be well out in front by the end of the weekend, the big striker for South Melbourne. Sends the long ball up towards Brennan. He used his body nicely to get past Akol. Still Brennan. Skips around one, gets the shot away, but always curling away from that far post. Andy Brennan has made a real impact since coming on to the pitch in the second half. See the energy and the drive that he still has, even at this stage of his career.
As I said, Oscar, he doesn't score as many goals as he previously did in the last couple of seasons at South Melbourne, and I think that would have been great for his confidence to get off the mark this year. He looks like he's due for one, though. He's been getting in all the good areas, and he's been causing all sorts of problems.
Could now be the moment for Brennan. He instead plays the cross towards Bernarda. Bernarda gets the shot away. It looks as if it rebounded off the post. You wondered if it was going to go in off the inside. But fortunately for Manningham, the ball has somehow been kept out. The goal frame at that end of the pitch seeing plenty of action in this game so far. South Melbourne go again. That cross, though, off target.
It's just been relentless. It's been absolutely relentless from South Melbourne. I mean, they've only scored 5, but they could easily have another 5 the way they've been going at the moment. And this Manningham team just, at the moment under all sorts of pressure when they're just trying to play out. That's where South are having their most joy as they look to get forward here. Goes through Ramirez. Calls for the foul, go unrewarded. Wallen. Lampard. Looking to drive forward from defence. Brennan. Hold up play there from Wallen. Brennan still looking to get forward. Owen Dufton does well. Della. Theodorakopoulos, strong challenge from Yankovic. And be a free kick awarded there to Manningham and a yellow card to Marko Yankovic. Both former Bentley Greens players, Christos Theodorakopoulos and Marko Yankovic. Not a happy weekend if you're a Bentley Green, though. Of course, losing 7-1 yesterday against Western United's academy team at Kingston Heath. Quite incredible.
Talk about an unexpected result, considering the way those teams started the season.
So Owen Dufton standing over this free kick. Of course, played on both flanks today. Striking resemblance to a none other than Jack Ginnivan, Oscar. The same sort of haircut that Ginnivan used to have a couple years ago when he was still playing for Collingwood.
We both had the thought independently.
Yes, we both were talking about this at halftime as well, that yes, we would break the no-sharing rule with this one, but you can just tell there's a bit of a striking resemblance with that haircut.
It's not just the hair, though, it's the face.
Yes,
too.
it's the whole kit and caboodle. So if you're watching on, you're wondering, why is Jack Ginnivan playing for Manningham? No, it's Owen Dufton, and he's put in a really good shift today for Manningham, being one of the bright sparks as he gets play going again. Long ball towards Everson. Headed clear by Yankovic. Oh, strong challenge there from Mario Barcia, and that's a yellow card. You see some of the Manningham fans to our left there, Oscar, not happy. I think they wanted to see a card of a different tinge.
Yeah, it wasn't a particularly clean challenge from Mario Barcia, not for the first time in his career, but we'll get away with just the caution for now.
Of course, Mario Barcia spending time at Bentley last season, Avondale and Oakley before that. First few games here at South Melbourne. Just under 20 minutes plus stoppage time remaining.
Certainly a vocal crowd at Petty's Reserve today.
Absolutely. Even some people to our right just even having their own comments about some of the comments from the crowd as Theodorakopoulos stands over this free kick. Floats it in, but it doesn't get past the first defender in Marshall. Brennan skips inside, plays it through, and Sawyer has space, but it's going to come all the way through to Sikora, who hoofs it clear. And Esteban Quintas with tried to go for the first touch, and it actually kind of worked out there because South Rebel would take that throw in quite quickly. As the afternoon Melbourne sun starts to set here, it is getting quite warm here at Petty's Reserve. It's be a lot warmer out there on that synthetic pitch. There's Dufton looking for Abdallah. It might actually work out for him as bodies go out flying everywhere at the moment between Abdallah and Noel Bernardo as well. Brennan. Defended well there by Dufton. So, of course, up next, as South Melbourne get ready to make a substitution, it will be Marko Yankovic coming from the field, and he'll be replaced here by Zach Spiteri. Third substitution here for South Melbourne. Marko Yankovic, who did return to the starting lineup this week, comes onto the field, off the field, replaced there by the youngster Spiteri, one of their new signings. But, of course, Oscar, you look at who's up next for South Melbourne on Friday night. Heidelberg at home, who have been one of the form teams to start this season. That's going to be an absolute cracker at Lakeside Stadium.
It's always a big game when South play Heidelberg, but I think this year more so than we've seen for really quite a number of years. Both South and Heidelberg flying.
Yep. And of course, Johnny Anastasiadis returning to Lakeside. A few moves removed, having spent time at Bentley and Western United, but of course a legend of the club. South looking to get forward. They want a sixth. Payos crosses it in, and Nicole's there to put it behind. I think it's only out in the end there for a throw. The time is running out here, and South Melbourne quite comfortable with their 3-goal advantage. It's amazing to think, Oscar, that Manningham were leading this game 2-0, and in the end South Melbourne said hold the presses, don't write the back page just yet. Still plenty of time to turn this one around. That's exactly what they did as Brennan looked for the hat-trick hero in Harrison Sawyer, and that rolls through to Claudio Sikora.
You can make the argument, Nick, that if Manningham were to lose this game 5-2, it'd probably be as good a 5-2 as they could hope for.
Absolutely.
Because of just how good they started the game. They haven't been able to maintain it for the remainder of the contest, and they've really been run over the top of by South. You see a long ball played out to this right-hand side for Manningham. Abdallah getting the shot away, but that one a comfortable take for Lejeune.
Hasn't had too much to do in this second half, William Lejeune.
Sawyer now,
Thomas.
unable to maintain possession. And so Manningham will once again look to build up from the back. Abdallah gets onto his left and sends a curling ball in. And almost Willem Lejeune caught out once more. Tips the ball over his crossbar. That one very nearly dipping in like we saw with Ben Everson in the first half.
Well worth the effort. And it looks like we're going to get another substitution for Manningham, Oscar, and it is going to be James Tuntis coming off and replaced by Tom Golding. Of course, came across this off-season from Eastern Lions, a really impressive season in VPL 1, or then known as NPL 2.
A good performance from James Tuntis, you'd have to say as well, particularly at the start of the game.
Yep.
Really offered a lot of drive and enthusiasm for Manningham. As the hosts now send in a low corner. Still waiting to get the shot away. Enough South numbers got back. Still the chance continues. Now Akol teed up, but no shot is able to get away in the end, and now South will look to hit on the counter. Payos slides it through. A beautiful ball for Brennan. Spins before continuing his run. But a really nice challenge, so the game perhaps entering that phase where it gets a little bit more open.
I think if you're Manningham, Oscar, I think you'd almost be in trying to bit of preservation mode if you can try and maybe get one back just in terms of the goal difference, Oscar, because right now on the live ladder it's sitting at -8 with three goal losses, and of course that 2-1 win against Dandenong Thunder. So they want to try and get that up a little bit, because that's what it could come down to this year, considering only one team go down. And it is going to be such a scrap between those sides at the bottom half of the table to avoid the drop. At goal differences we've seen in seasons past, it can be the be-all and end-all at the end of the day.
Well, we mentioned at the start of the game, didn't we, Nick, that for Manningham, the problem isn't scoring goals. They've shown that they're more than capable of doing that, even in the top tier. It's conceding more than they score, and really this game has encapsulated that problem for them.
13 goals conceded already. That's not ideal.
Sawyer looking for his 4th of the afternoon. That one was a tame effort. It's a little bit of a tired attempt.
I think you can excuse Harry Sawyer for having a tired attempt, given how well he's played today.
He's probably allowed one of those. Abdallah's the target. Coming back across. And sending it clear was Spiteri. As we see in the background, all sorts of people attracted to NPL Victoria these days. Couldn't say for sure whether that's some reference to American politics or perhaps just a big Brandon Barnes fan, Nick. Does Manningham need another striker, perhaps?
Well, if he's a big Brandon Barnes fan, he's got the wrong flag as part of his sign as well.
Ramirez runs into trouble. In the form of Wallen, and now Payos. Spreads it out to the right-hand side where Andy Brennan has moved. But Ramirez will get another crack at it. Ball slid through. And coming across, it's a really strong defensive challenge from Morgan Evans. So another cross, or another corner I should say, for Manningham, being delivered from just about the only part of the pitch in shade at this point of the afternoon. Once again they go flat. And the second attempt does catch a deflection, so Manningham will get another go through Theodorakopoulos. They go the indirect route. Shot once again deflected, so we'll go for a third time. Manningham finally giving South perhaps a bit of a taste of their own medicine with the repeated set-piece deliveries.
It's just a shame the scoreline is what it's at, you know, given the game state, you know.
Well, a very indirect approach this time as there's a long-range attempt from Ramirez, followed up, but unable to keep the shot down. It's Owen Dufton. Well, South Melbourne have taken perhaps the foot off the pedal somewhat, allowing Manningham a little bit more space in possession to build up. Lampard uses Bernardo. A nice little play, but Castiello gets his body in the way. Of course, next week for Manningham, it doesn't get a lot easier. A trip to JL Murphy Reserve to take on Port Melbourne, who've made a surprisingly positive start to season 2024. Hold that thought for just a moment as Payos slides through Sawyer. Goes for the cross, but Castiello, as he has been for the whole afternoon, in close quarters with Harry Sawyer.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that game next week against Port Melbourne, another really good test for Manningham. We know that their first two road games have been difficult, and Port Melbourne have been very impressive to start this season. And, of course, they're back here, Avondale. So it doesn't really get any easier for Manningham. A lot of good tests at the start here to see how they can go against the best. But I think that despite these scorelines, Oscar, as you said before, this is probably the best sort of 5-2 loss to have, because they can take a lot out of this, knowing that going into the rest of the season that when they're at their best, they can stick it to the best in this competition. But certainly today, a real avalanche from South Melbourne, a real lesson, I think, for Manningham to learn coming out of this one as free kicks played short. Payos, and it's saved by Sikora. Would have been a deserved first South Melbourne goal for Emil Payos had that one gone in. He's been very good today. Spiteri keeps it alive. Well played from young Zach Spiteri. Here's Marshall, the gold medal winner. Looking to get forward. Plays it into Bernardo. Now out wide to Payos. A Cole gets across. Won the ball. Also caught Payos, but play called there from the referee, Theodorakopoulos. Carter switching ball out towards Golding, but too much on it. And it's out of bounds for a throw-in.
Out of bounds, Nick. Really going for it, aren't you? Footyism's coming in full flow. Of course, it's not the only top-flight NPL Men's Victoria game that we've got for today. Still to come, Altona welcoming Dandy Thunder in Melbourne's West before Hume City welcome the Sharkies, Port Melbourne, who we were just talking about before.
Be a really good game between two of the more impressive sides to start this season. Looking forward to that one.
Brennan once again attempting to charge through the Manningham defence. Brennan sends in the cross. Akol gets his head there. Chance still alive for South Melbourne as they play a bit more patiently. Chaos. Wallen plays it to Mario Barcia. Now Marshall goes all the way out to the opposite side of the field. Well one back. And the attempted ball through from Dufton is cut out. I mean, if nothing else for Manningham today, I think having Ben Everson on the score sheet's got to be the highlight of the day for the home team.
Oh, absolutely. Just seeing him get off his mark this season. Of course, he ended last season when he made the move from Brunswick Juventus so strongly, and we've seen what he's been able to do in the second tier as well, playing for Bulleen Lions. Looks like Josh Wallen's day is going to come to an end, Oscar. He did go to ground and sit down just before that stoppage, and it looks like, unfortunately, one of the substitutes, he's going to have to make way. And it looks like it is going to be a double substitution incoming for South Melbourne, and it will be Cooper Halfpenny coming on, and it looks like soon will be as well Lucas Inglese coming on for South Melbourne, and it's going to be Harrison Sawyer who makes way after a very, very impressive afternoon. A hat-trick in the centre of everything in this comeback, and a deserved rest for the former Golden Boot winner back in 2022.
Well, if he hadn't announced his return to NPL Victoria yet, Harrison Sawyer, he definitely has now. A really wonderful display, showing what he did so effectively for South Melbourne a couple of seasons ago. And no doubt, he'll once again turn into perhaps the biggest threat in Victorian men's football. Harrison Sawyer.
Well, you know, with Jonas Markovski leaving Oscar and going to Brisbane Roar, there is a spot waiting at the top of the Golden Boot charts for someone to grab, and Harry Sawyer, of course, was the Golden Boot winner that season prior, and it looks like he's picking up right where he left off as another substitution here for Manningham, and it's going to be Rob Harding coming on. Harding started the first few games of the season, and it'll be Jose Ramirez who makes way. His first start of the season coming to an end.
Rob Harding. Make of his game today, Nick Tavana, Jose Ramirez?
Yeah, I think a very strong start to this game. I mean, Jose has had a difficult little patch. I mean, last season returned from an ACL injury sustained when he was at Bulleen in 2022, and then he ended the season really strongly, helped Manningham achieve promotion, and he's had to work his way into the starting lineup this year. And I think a deserved start and a deserved opportunity as Barcia puts that one right into the car park. Actually, might just fall short. Nope, goes into the car park. But no, I think a very solid performance from the captain. I think he can hold his head high. A few of these Manningham players are going to put in some really good shifts, but they're playing against the best of the best. These are players that are, you know, of such a top ilk. And of course, when you look what South Melbourne's objectives are beyond this season, Oscar, and you look at, you know, NST coming next year and looking to build a squad that will be able to play at a national level next season. These are players that certainly belong at a higher level. And Manningham getting the opportunity to rub shoulders amongst these players and certainly sticking it to them for that first 35-odd minutes, I think they can certainly come out of this and go, you know what, we gave it a red-hot crack. Yes, we fell a bit, but we stuck to our guns and we really, really stuck it to the best.
That's not to say that this won't sting for Manningham.
Oh, absolutely.
Certainly.
It's still you lead 2-0 and you're dropping points. They'll still feel like they should have got something from this game, all things considered. And they'd be disappointed with the way that they just let things snowball after they conceded that first goal. Of course, they've got a few players missing as well, Oscar. No Marco Tavella, no Nathan Dibb, no Salvatore Accardo. So they've got a few players out at the moment. The fascinating thing that I love to see here is South Melbourne fans, they might be happy with their 5-2 lead, but they're still protesting every decision, even if it is just taking a few extra centimetres from a throw.
Everson skips past a couple, still going Ben Everson. Oh, the clever feet, lays it out wide. The shot sent in from Daniel Scopolidi. Never quite looked to be on target, was from a really difficult angle, that one. Still so much fun to watch Ben Everson play, how good he is with the ball at his feet.
Yeah, well, him and Christos Theodorakopoulos, you get a sense they're going to be the two that are going to have to be key to keeping them up this season. I mean, if Manningham are going to play this style that is a little bit more progressive, a little bit more on the front foot, you know, play with the potential of conceding goals and looking to, you know, instead of maybe battening down the hatches and playing a little bit more defensive, you know, they're going to have to score, you know, multiple goals in some of these games, and those two players are certainly going to be central to that this season.
I think part of what makes the Ben Everson style so appealing is that you don't really expect it from someone with the physique that he has. Listening to last week's game, Steve Curtin described him as barrel-chested, and I think it's a really apt way to
just to sort of
articulate what he looks like.
Sort of just barrels through players every time. Like, he gets the ball, he's got really quick feet, he's able to just use his size and quick sort of acceleration to get around players. And I mean, Oscar, we saw it when he was at Bulleen, you know, for all that time. He was such a hard player to stop, but he's used to playing on these turfs as well. Of course, with the Venezuela club also being a synthetic turf, so he understands trajectory, bounce of the ball, everything. So I think that this has been so far match made in heaven when you consider last season as well and how key he was in that promotion push.
That time, referee Daniel Lilievsky bowing to the cheers from the South Melbourne crowd, deeming it a handball against Daniel Scoffalidi. Well, you wonder if there's perhaps to be any consolation in this game for Manningham. A late goal to make the scoreline look a little bit tighter. When South Melbourne really came out for the second half with a plan which they executed to perfection. We know we've got the momentum and we'll just keep powering it in, extend our advantage and make it feel like an insurmountable task, and I think they did that. And really, since the hour mark, this result hasn't felt like it's been in a lot of doubt. Manningham once more play it all the way back to the goalkeeper, given away in a really dangerous position. Is this Andy Brennan's moment? Not quite to be.
What's it going to take?
Oh, Sakura, quick off his line, got himself in the way. And the passage of play will end with a free kick awarded Manningham's way.
So about 3 minutes of added time remains here. Manningham, of course, up against Port Melbourne up next, who play later tonight over at Hume City Stadium in Broadmeadows, and South Melbourne up against the undefeated Heidelberg. Two of the undefeated sides meeting next Friday night at Lakeside Stadium. Two of the oldest rivals in Victorian football. It doesn't get much bigger than that. Brennan feeds it out wide. Spiteri plays it back across the face, falls for Brennan, and he just drags it wide. And what's it going to take for Andy Brennan to open up his account? He's had a few great opportunities to score his first goal of 2024, but just dragged that effort wide of the mark. It's been a very positive showing for Andy Brennan off the bench today, but just a love a goal at the end of it.
You saw the frustration really boil over for Andy Brennan at the end there. He's had a number of opportunities and he hasn't looked a mile away. Just hasn't quite had the finishing touch.
Just wonder if it's a confidence thing, Oscar. He hasn't scored many goals in the last few years. You just get a sense if he can get one, maybe the floodgates will open a bit for him, but he just hasn't been able to find the mark so far today. But that could be his final chance of the game, with time expiring here at Petty's Reserve.
But as you did mention when he came on, his role in this team is much more than scoring goals. It's the pressing and the off-the-ball work that he does and the combination play with his fellow attackers, and we've seen a whole lot of that in this second half.
It's been very impressive, Oscar, when he was playing alongside Harry Sawyer, sort of winning that ball high up the pitch, and now he's sort of taken the role as leading the line since Sawyer has come off the ground after scoring a hat-trick of his own. Abdallah feeds it out wide to Golding. Can Manningham muster up one last opportunity? Here's Harding getting in behind. He's got players in support. Goes himself, spilled by Lejeune, and it's cleared away by Halfpenny, getting across to preserve their 3-goal advantage, but stays in. Golding And a good challenge there on that far side. And a free kick. And a yellow card awarded to Tom Golding. Of course, Emil Payos who won that free kick. A very, very impressive showing from Emil Payos in his first start for South Melbourne. So South, 4 wins from 4 to start 2024. It was looking a little bit ominous early, but they've been able to turn this one around. While Manningham, 1 win and 3 losses to start life in the top tier. But South aren't done yet. Now they definitely are. South Melbourne make it 4 wins from 4 to start the new year. They survived an early scare. Ben Everson had Manningham leading 2-0. He had them dreaming after that long-range chip gave the home side that early 2-goal buffer. But 3 goals in the space of 7 minutes before half-time from South Melbourne. 2 from Sawyer, 1 from Bernarda, restored their lead. And then South Melbourne put the foot down after the break. With another from Harry Sawyer and Jordan Lampard wrapping up the win to ensure that South Melbourne continue their perfect start to the year. Oscar Rutherford.
A really impressive display from Esteban Quintas' side. I mean, they've made the message clear. You don't score against South Melbourne, and if you do, they'll score 5. A mighty display at Petty's Reserve, and to come from behind when they were under all sorts of pressure in the first 20-odd minutes. And as you say, it's set us up for a really tantalising game next Friday night. A huge game between South Melbourne and Heidelberg.
Heidelberg 3 wins and a draw. South Melbourne 4 wins from 4. It's going to be an absolute cracker at Lakeside Stadium. While Manningham head on the road to take on Port Melbourne. A lot of lessons to come out of this game for the newly promoted side from VPL 1, who will certainly look to build from this as they look to maintain their status as a top-tier Victorian side. But it's time for us to say goodbye here from quite a warm Petty's Reserve here in Melbourne's east. Nick Tabano and Oscar Rutherford here signing off with Manningham United 2, South Melbourne 5.